Welcome to Authentic Living and Loving channel, where trailblazers share stories of success, living to the beat of their own drum, in places that inspire and feed your imagination. Get ready to discover, explore, grow, and find your bliss. Here's your host, Dr. Jordan Alexander.
Hello, I'm Dr. Jordan Alexander, and today we are fortunate to have Peter Dijkema with us. He's dialing in from Melbourne, Australia. Peter is the separation coach, helping men navigate separation challenges and empowering positive fatherhood. He's an ICF and a Thrive accredited coach. He has decades of experience in a range of settings, cultures, and countries. If you're a man who's going through separation or having gone through a separation, Peter helps you reshape your role as a father with empathy and effectiveness. He has a deep understanding of both the emotional and logistical aspects of separation, offering practical guidance, assisting you to establish a fulfilling life post-separation. If you're a separated father or about to be, and you're looking for a constructive, pragmatic way through separation that's good for you, your family, and your future, you are going to love today's session. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you, Mariana. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, pleasure. It's been so good. I actually haven't caught up with you since you were doing that push-up challenge. What was the push-up challenge for again?
So the push-up challenge was to basically raise awareness for mental health and to raise money and donations for, in my case, for Lifeline to help them basically mend their support line for suicide prevention.
That's right. I knew it was a good cause. I knew it wasn't just you being sporty. And did you actually achieve the required? Because it was quite a lot. What did you have to?
I think it was 21 days, and I needed to do 3,249 push-ups. And that's that number is the number of people that we know took their lives in Australia in 2022. So
wow.
it's almost 10 people a day.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, thank you for doing that, and pleasure to support your efforts. So that's really great. So sport. You're a bit of a sports fella yourself, and when we were preparing before, we were talking about the difference between coaching in sport and the coaching work that you do with separated fathers, right? I thought it was a good place to start, maybe if you could kind of walk us through what's the difference, because everyone's going to think, oh yeah, I know, I've got one of those soccer coach guys.
Yeah, I am a soccer coach as well, or a football coach, like I call it. Basically, the difference between coaching a sports team and coaching a person, being a professional coach and coach them around their life, their personal life, their business, or their professional life. It's a little bit different because with the sports coach, they tell the players what to do, they come up with the strategies, and the players basically execute. Where as a coach in my profession, it's I help people to basically reach for the resources that they've got themselves. So as a coach, most people believe that their clients have the resources and capabilities to find the answers to the questions they've got. What I do is to ask them the questions that they might not know to ask themselves, so that they can get there. And basically sometimes shine some light on the shadows that they've got, on the things they can't see, and shine some light on the blind spots that they might have.
Yeah, there's that wonderful book, Willful Blindness, and it's got the ostrich with the head in the sand, and it's like some stuff we can't see because we choose not to see it either. And so we do need to have somebody gently but firmly pull our head out of the sand,
Yes.
to take a look. So
No,
that's,
exactly.
yeah, really, really important, and a great distinction, because I think it's really important for people to understand that a coach doesn't have the answers for you. It's they're helping you find your own answers. And that's, so if you're not prepared to do the work, coaching's probably not gonna get the answers, right? You
No,
gotta do the
exactly.
work. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's so good. That's so good. So by now, our listeners will have heard your accent and be wondering, where is this man from? He's dialing in from Melbourne, but that's not your original homeland.
Mm.
If we kind of go a little bit to Peter as a younger version of who you are now, where was home and how did that shape who you are today?
No, I'm originally from the Netherlands. I came to Australia about 24 years ago. I was, a mature person already, so I didn't come as a teenager, and so I had, experienced life in the Netherlands and in Europe in general. Lived in Barcelona and in Paris for a while as well. But the Netherlands and the area of the Netherlands that I'm coming from is known to be, what they call Calvinistic. So basically, it's people. If something happens, you need to suck it up. And I remember coming to Australia, going to the dentist for the first time, and I had a hole in my one of my molars, and they said, "Okay, no, we need to fill the hole." And I said, "No, okay, no, go ahead." And then they pulled out this needle. I said, "Oh, what is this needle for?" Oh, we need to numb it. So, what do you need to numb it? Just fill it. Yeah, just do it. And they were looking at me, said, "No, no, no, we're not comfortable with it." I said, "Oh, I've done it quite a number of times." So, but they wouldn't do it. But that gives a little bit of an indication. It's the same with when women give birth, then it's generally Panadol what is it called again? The epidural is not really given too much because they believe that you should be able to handle it.
That's so interesting. Like, I mean, I've got a background that's Ukrainian and Croatian, and I always joke around about, we're a strong Ukrainian girl, I can pull the plow, but that's like a whole other level of tough. Like, I don't know that I'd be keen to have dental work done without a needle. That's crazy.
But but that also means that often when you need some support, people say, "Oh, you just need to suck it up and deal with it." Which
Mm,
I can see in let's say in Australia, I can see that how that applies to men in general, how men feel that they need to suck it up and just get on with it when they feel down or don't know what to do. And that's quite interesting how that translates as well. Where in the Netherlands everybody is quite direct,
mm.
and I must say I'm Dutch in a sense, so I'm not as direct as most Dutch people. Um, but that can be very confrontational for especially in an Anglo-Saxon society where everybody needs to be nice to each other and pretend that everything is okay. And if you, a lot of times people don't want to upset somebody else, where, Dutch people, and especially when they come over here for the first time, you would, most Australians would call them rude.
Right. That's so interesting, isn't it? The different cultural lenses, and you've obviously you've come from the Netherlands, but also working in Spain and in France, and it's there. Each country has a different lens, cultural lens, and national lens, and that probably gives you an advantage, not just in Melbourne because it's very multicultural, but also with working with different different people who are from different backgrounds. Do you
Yes.
find that that's an advantage for you?
Yeah, I think so. It's when you know different cultures, when you can relate to them, it's a lot easier to deal with them. So if you've only dealt with, let's say, middle-aged white Australian man, and you have to deal with an refugee from Sudan or Somalia, it's a completely different story. Then it's harder to cross that bridge and yeah, basically put yourself in the third or in the second person or third person and have a look at what life might be for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
In culture, yeah, in especially in separation coaching in relationships, culture makes a huge difference. Um, in some cultures, people are really open, other ones really closed. And I think if you don't take that into account, then you will miss a lot of the nuances that are going on in relationships.
That's so interesting. And it's something that I never really thought about. But if you kind of put the whole marriage, family situation into a cultural setting, then even the way that people are, you're not getting a divorce, or, you're going to have to stick it out, or my grandma's famous wisdom, which was, you stay with a guy, unless does he drink too much? Does he beat you? If that, then you stay, right? Like there's no other reason why you would even contemplate. So that cultural uh, situation really would be so different for, and then there's mixed cultures that are marrying and stuff. And so that's quite a unique lens that you offer by being, multicultural yourself, really.
Yeah, and I'm from the Netherlands. My father was from Suriname in South America, so that's a different culture there again.
Mm.
And it is interesting to see even there what the difference is between, let's say, how traditionally Dutch people look at it, and how people with an origin from Suriname look at the marriage. And yeah, in when I grew up, and it's not so much anymore, but when I grew up, it was perfectly normal for a man in Suriname to have what they called an outside woman. So they had just some fun outside the marriage, and everybody knew about it. It wasn't hidden, but and it's not to say that his wife would like it and not be jealous about it, but it would be acceptable. In the Netherlands, that would be never acceptable uh,
Yeah.
because yeah, it's a different culture, and I think that has changed quite a bit as well in the last 20 years. But
I can see the Dutch wife with the retribution for the Dutch husband who's trying to do the other woman, given that you're not into painkillers. I have this visual of this irate woman
yeah,
chasing the Dutchman, like trying to find, but anyways, we digress. I could just it's a really big deal. And it's also interesting because I guess, as much as it's a marriage thing, you're also dealing with fathers, and that's kids and all of the norms around that. And so there must be different ways of approaching the family dynamics. Do you find that in the coaching that you do?
yes, it is. And for example, in some men want to be really involved with their children, and in other cultures, yeah, the woman takes care of the kids, and the man might turn up every so often, might take them to a sports game, but only so often, only when he's not working or doesn't have anything else to do. And if you really look at where that is coming from, then it's a lot easier to yeah, work with those men as well. Because I've in my soccer coaching, I've dealt with a lot of African kids whose parents might be together or might be apart. Sometimes the mother would be living in Melbourne, and the father would have gone back to Africa.
Mm.
Um, And that gives a completely different dynamic to the family and to how the child is raised as well, I think, because they are missing that father figure then. And I think that's really important. I think every child needs a father and a mother, or a mother and a father. And in the past, often when people split up, then the kids would stay with the mother. But then, yeah, there's a lot of men that have been brought up fatherless in a sense, and without the influence of their father. And you can see that, yeah, right now, in probably in this day and age, you can see that rears his head, because there are a lot of yeah, let me call it soft fathers who have never had have only had the influence of their mother, which has been great, but they haven't had the other part of it, and they don't know how to father their own children now.
Mm. Yeah, saying yeses that should be nos, and you know, that ice cream dad thing. You know, I only see you every other weekend,
Yeah.
so I want to spoil you, and
Yes.
that's not necessarily, you know, what the children actually want.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, despite how much we love ice cream, there's no sort of intimacy, like depth and intimacy in that relationship.
Yes, no, exactly. And yeah, then they become a Disney dad in a sense, and just
Yeah,
do nice things, but are not there to, yeah, really guide them through life. Uh,
yeah.
and I see my role as a parent, I see as a guide for my children, not as a dictator telling them what to do, but yeah, to guide them, make the right decisions, and they will have to make the decision themselves at a certain age, obviously. But I've got teenagers, so they need to be able to make their decisions, and they sometimes they might screw up, and that's fine as well, because you learn from your mistakes.
Totally.
And if you don't make mistakes, you probably haven't tried hard enough.
You haven't pushed
Yeah,
the boundaries enough
yeah,
for the growing and stuff. So Peter, I'm sure that everybody wants to know, I mean, you've obviously got a separation story, right? Nobody goes in to be the separation coach without having their own separate. Is it okay to share that
yeah,
here? Are you comfortable getting
yes, yeah. No,
personal with
definitely.
your separation story?
No,
Um,
no, yeah, yeah. So no, I was probably married. I've married for about 10 years, and I had three children, beautiful children, and often you see that a separation, either it's going really slowly, it happens slowly, and you almost can't see the change happening, or there's a life-changing event happening. And in my case, that was the case. So about yeah, how long ago? Probably 8 years ago, my younger brother died from cancer suddenly. He was living in Suriname in South America, and on a Tuesday, his girlfriend found him on the ground. He had fainted, so she took him to the hospital, and they said he had cancer. Then they couldn't do anything there because the care wasn't up to scratch there. So then my mother decided that she would fly to Suriname, and bring him back to the Netherlands for him to be cared for in a Dutch hospital. So she flew out on the Friday. On the Thursday, brought him back on the Friday. So they arrived on the Saturday morning, went to the hospital, and they did all tests that they needed to do. And on the Sunday, I called the hospital. I said, yeah, what's the diagnosis? They said, we can't tell you. I said, I know it's cancer. And they said, yeah, we'll get the test on Tuesday. So I said, I'm in Australia, so it takes me 24 hours to get to the Netherlands. So should I book a ticket right now and come straight away? Or should I wait till you've got the results? And they didn't want to tell me because doctors,
Yeah.
they can't. So then I asked the question, so if it was your brother, what would you do?
Oh, good
And
question.
and then the doctor said, she said, I would book a ticket right now. So I
Oh
did.
my gosh.
It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was in the plane, I think it's 1:30 a.m. Got to Holland on Monday evening, and he passed away on the Saturday. So yeah, we spent a lot of, in a sense, a lot of quality time together. But it also made me think about my life and how fleeting life is in a sense.
Mm.
Because yeah, he within 12 days he was from being okay to gone in a sense. So I stayed another week in the Netherlands for the funeral. There was more time with family. He had a lot of other half brothers and sisters, so we stayed all together with my mother. And it basically really made me think about what life was all about, and that it wasn't about just paying the mortgage, paying the school fees, and just turning up to work every day, and just going through the motions in a
Yeah,
sense.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I felt that there was something more. So when I got back, basically I had gone through basically 2 weeks of highly emotional charge in a sense. And then I came back and everything was the same as when I left. People, they say, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that your brother has died." But yeah, for them, it was just a very distant event in a sense. And with my ex-wife, I discussed that, and she didn't really get it at that stage either. So at some stage I said, I'm not happy. We need to do something because I don't want to go through the motions like this for the next 20 years. And then basically we did a lot of relationship therapy and things like that, but we had grown apart in the years prior already, but it just came to the surface through this life-changing event in a sense.
Mm.
And so and it's not easy to separate. My separation has been quite amicable. I know that there are plenty of separations that aren't, where kids are being used as ammunition. And I heard a story the other day that from a lawyer that the mother had set up the daughter to take out an intervention order towards her father, even though she didn't want to,
Oh my
because
God.
and things like that happen. And I think that is the worst thing that can happen to a child. So for me, it's my mother. My mother and my father were never together, so I grew up with a mother and a couple of father figures next to it. But if you consciously try to pull your child away from one of the parents, and it doesn't matter if it's the mother or the father, I don't think that is going to be beneficial to the child in the end.
No, I don't think anyone would. I don't think anyone in their right mind would say that it is. Yet we all at this stage of life know way too many examples where couples have separated and the collateral damage is the kids. I mean, it's literally, it becomes this tug of war, and the needs of those kids are not even anywhere near the surface of what's going on. It's either about money or it's about winning or it's about, and you just don't win when you're using,
No.
your children.
No, and what I also often notice, and it doesn't matter if there are young children or adult children involved, often one of the parents is trying to get the children on their side, which means that they are not on the side of the other parent. And that damages the relationship between the child and the parent. And that can take years or decades to repair. And that's I think that's really important as well, to acknowledge that what the damage is that causes.
Well, and for some, I'm sure that it goes on and on. It kind of reminds me of I think is it King Solomon, where the two mums are saying that it's the baby.
Yeah.
You know, oh, that's my baby. No, it's my baby. And he says, great, I'm going to chop this kid in half and you can both have half. And then the real mom says, you know, no, she can have them, you know, and it's kind of, you've really got to put the child's best interest at the fore over your own winning or something. I mean, it's just, it's so, yeah, I hate to see it, and it happens way too often. So for you and your separations, or you've gone from your separation to obviously deciding, hey, look, I need to, you know, there's a gap here. People need help in this whole process. What was it that made you decide, you know what, I'm going to be the separation coach?
No, I was coaching already, but I was coaching and I started coaching leaders. Then I wanted to find some more fulfillment, in a sense.
Yeah.
And I thought, how can I help as many people as I can? So then I decided that I would coach not-for-profit leaders. Because not-for-profit leaders, they often give a lot of themselves and too much of themselves, and burn out, and then they can't help the people that they want to help, or the cause that they support. Then I went through a separation myself. Saw friends of mine going through a separation. Saw how much complexity there's involved in a separation, and also that you find out things way too late of how they work. And I probably would have made different decisions back then if I would have had the information that I have right now. And sometimes it's very little things. It's quite interesting. I was on the phone with a friend of mine last night. He's Dutch. He has got dual citizenship. And in the Netherlands, you can only have dual citizenship for three reasons. One is if your parents had a different nationality, or one of your parents had a different nationality, the other one was Dutch, and you were born or had lived 5 years in a different country of that. Then another one is if you are married to a foreigner and you take the nationality of that country and you live in that country. Now, he recently divorced and he had to renew his passport, and he filled in the passport renewal that he was divorced. And he got a letter in the mail yesterday that his Dutch citizenship was renounced.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So because he wasn't married to a foreigner, and he had voluntarily taken on another nationality. I think there is more to it. I think he won't lose it, but if you know that is the case, then when you renew your passport, you go to the passport office and say, okay, now here's my marriage certificate, here's my divorce certificate. This is when I got married. This is when I got naturalized. So that's why I've got two passports.
Yeah. So front loading it rather than trying to clean up the mess after, because they've said no, and then trying to get somebody to say yes after that it's going to be really challenging.
For him to get his Dutch nationality back again now is going to be a really lengthy process. And I think he will get it back, but it's not going to be 2 days work.
No, it's not going to be cheap either. It feels like, there's going to be some cash involved. And
the same thing in separations as well. There's plenty of things that if you know them in advance, then if you know what the checklists are beforehand, then you look at the checklist and you do all the things. If you just you decide to separate, you say, oh, okay, now what now? Then you might be 6 months later and find out that you should have done something 6 months ago. And
yeah.
that's often what happens.
That was one of the things in your website as well, that in terms of the free resources and things. So even just, I loved that you're so committed to helping people that you're giving stuff away just so that people don't end up falling over, and just, oh my God, had I done that, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, like you said, learning the hard way. And it's so interesting because this isn't the first separation, but yet so many people fly blind and they don't know what they don't know.
No, yeah, no, exactly. And a lot of people that don't know what they don't know, the first thing they do is go to a lawyer and get them to sort it out. And they can sort it out, but the law has changed recently so that lawyers actually need to have the best interest of their clients and of the actual divorce in mind, where previously that wasn't the case, so they could drag out the whole process and make more money. When now it's basically the law says that they have to facilitate a speedy divorce in a sense that is in the best interest of both parties, but basically in the interest of their client, obviously the most, because they are working for their client.
Well, exactly. I mean, how long's a piece of string? If you and I are getting separated, and I want what's my fair share, you want what's your fair share, and now it's almost our lawyer's job to tell us our fair share is a little bit more than what's on the table, right? They're going to be so you're kind of already behind the 8 ball. And I don't know, I've had a couple of divorces in my time. They're not cheap, right? Like, how much are we talking about that people are spending in this separation game?
So if you just get in Australia, if you get divorced and you get a lawyer involved, so you don't have to get a lawyer involved to actually divorce. But you have to go through court. You don't have to go to court, but the court has to basically agree with the application of your divorce. So the minimum that you spend if you earning a reasonable amount of money is let's say $1,000 for a joint application. If you each get a lawyer involved, then you probably both are looking at $3,000 to $10,000 each. But then it has to be amicable. You need to.
It's paperwork, just the paperwork. Yeah.
If it's a little bit more complex and you've got companies and assets have to be sorted out, trust funds and things like that, or trust, then it might be between $20,000 and $60,000. So then it goes up quite quickly, because lawyers' fees are not cheap, and sometimes you just need to get lawyers involved, because if it's not easy, it's not something you can do yourself.
No, and I mean, this is the messy divorce thing, right? Like, and I dare say, oh, okay, the messy divorce thing gets balloons. The price of a coaching session and the hour of a lawyer's bill, like it's still, last time I checked, they're a lot more economical to get coaching through this stuff.
If you get a call from you're a coach yourself, if you ever chat to somebody on the phone for 10 minutes, how much do you charge?
Yeah, it's not the same as what my lawyer charges.
Yeah, so if you do that with a lawyer, then it's for 15 minutes, it's let's say $250 or whatever.
Yeah.
Or reading an email, things like that.
Yeah.
yeah, that's the industry, and that's what you have to be prepared to pay for it. But if you have to go to court, so the examples I mentioned is not even going to court.
Right.
But if you need to go to court, then it's a whole different ballgame. So then, because then you've got a lawyer, a barrister, then
Yeah.
multiple people get involved, and it could cost up to $5,000 per day in court.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, the name of the game is stay out of court, try and minimize the amount of time with lawyers. And then there's also the kid dynamic, right? Like how does the whole children thing and deciding on, you know, where are these children living? How are they, how is that part of the stuff that you go through with your coaching clients?
I go through co-parenting, how you can co-parent, what people want to take on. So especially a lot of men, they don't want to have the kids 50-50. But if they want to have them 50-50, especially when they are younger, they often won't get it. I've got a client who said, I want my kids 50-50, but his ex-wife said, oh, no, I want, you can have them two nights, a fortnight. And to fight that is really expensive as well. And he has taken the approach of slowly getting more and more, and he is getting slowly more and more. Because in the end, when I remember talking about it with my ex-wife, and I said, I'm happy to have the kids 50. I'm happy to have the kids 100% if you don't want them. And she said, no, I want them. But I think for me and for her as well, 50-50 is perfect. It gives you some reprieve as well. So there's good and bad things about it. And my kids are not young anymore, so that if I don't see them for a couple of days, then it's not an issue. If they are 2 or 3 years old, it's a different story. But yes, some people don't understand that if they have to care for a child themselves on their own, how much different that is than doing that as a team. And that is one of the things that I work with as well. Is okay, now, when you are with the kids, you need to be fully present. Because you can't shift the responsibility to somebody else, or lie on the couch and drink beer and watch the footy the whole afternoon.
Yeah, and order Domino's pizza, or I'm curious, Peter, the kinds of clients that you have, like, you know, is there a profile of, you know, is it certain types of people that come in, you know, because separation and divorce and all that hits every socioeconomic part, whether you're a chief executive or a, you know, whatever. I mean, who do you typically work with?
They are typically leaders or professionals, and it is not because I just want to work with them. It's because that's my network as well, and that is expanding because I'm organizing dinners for separated fathers to socialize together and talk about share their stories, and they are not, and we discussed that previously, they are not bitch sessions.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Constructive.
They are constructive sessions where people say, okay, now I've got this challenge. How has anybody faced this? And how have you dealt with it? And it's not necessarily giving advice. It's just sharing experiences. And everybody can pick their own part of that, what they want to do with it.
I love, and you and I have talked before about the separated fathers sort of dinners and stuff. And it is so wonderful to hear men giving and getting support from each other, because they're human just like women are human. And it's kind of getting over that stigma almost of the, you've got it. And you mentioned it before about, the asking for help.
Yeah.
There's still that, I mean, here in New Zealand, there's still that Kiwi bloke thing. Things are slowly changing, but it still is around the never let them see you cry, never ask for help. There's so many. There was the All Blacks had a campaign years ago about like being real men and stuff and showing their softer side. And we need almost one of those again, because it's just, it's so essential for your own well-being. And also if you're, it's that put your oxygen mask on first and you can assist others. What kind of a dad are you going to be if you're up to your eyeballs in lawyers stuff and you're emotionally, you don't know what you're doing, you've got no pathway. Like, it just sounds like, I mean, and I know from personal experience, it's shit. It sucks. It is like, this is not like, oh, hey, what do you feel like doing this year? Oh, I'm going to put in one of my goals to get separated. Like, it's the
Exactly.
worst,
Yeah.
So, it is so important. One of the things that you offer is this hero's journey program. So, what does that involve? Who's it for? Tell me a little bit about that.
So I often work with people one-on-one, but some people, they like to work in groups because they're looking for community support, and others, to be honest, they can't afford one-on-one coaching, and it's a good way to basically get the benefit of some guidance around what you need to look at when you are separating, and what you need to, it's basically what you need to look out for, and some tips and tricks in a sense, but also that community feel where you are paired up with another separated father, so that you can bounce ideas off each other. And it's not something that I came up with, because I've run through a lot of coaching training, and that's what every coaching training does, and it just works, because sometimes you just need somebody to talk to, and if you've got a buddy, you can just call them, contact them, and say, okay, now I'm struggling with this. What should I do? Or do you have any tips, or where should I look? That could be the easiest way. And then if they don't know, then there's this whole other community that you've got as well. But basically the program is 12 weeks. We go through, initially, I think the most important thing is to emotionally ground yourself, to deal with the emotional turmoil, so that you can make rational decisions and don't make rush decisions. Because if you, especially when you put it in writing, if you say, oh, yeah, you can have the kids 80% of the time, and you put it in writing, then that's what it's going to be. You can also just say, we can start off with, for now, for the next 2 weeks or 2 months, let's do it this way. And then let's work out how we can have the kids 50-50 when I found a new place to live, for example. And that's one of the things as well that I often say, make sure that you have a place to live where you've got space for the kids. Because if you don't have space for the kids, you're never going to get the kids.
Yeah, see, even something simple like that, until, in the heat of the moment, it's like, just let's physically separate. Sometimes you end up somewhere else, but then the ramifications of you not thinking ahead about where the kids can potentially go that's going to be an issue downstream, and not very far downstream.
No, exactly. And for example, if a man leaves the house, then and it can be for multiple reasons. It can be because he just wants to leave, or he has done something that he feels guilty and leaves the house, and then goes and couch surfs. There's no judge going to rule that you can have your kids overnight if you are sleeping on the couch somewhere else.
Of course, of
So
course.
if you don't sort those things out, and that are really the foundation. So sort your
Yeah.
home situation out, your finances, the legal things. If you can sort them out sooner rather than later, then you can actually look forward. And that's how I've structured the program as well. Sort out the basics first, then look at where you want to go, and then put some action plans in place to get to where you want to get to. Because you might say, okay, now I've moved out, I've rented the place, but I want to buy something somewhere. Where do you want to buy? How is that going to work with the kids? Are you going to have the kids? If you've got multiple kids, how long and how often are you going to have them? How much space do you need? All those kind of things are practical things, but if you don't think about them and make rash decisions, buy a 2-bedroom apartment and you've got 3 kids, then it's probably not going to work that well. They might not even want to stay there in one room with 3, share a room with 3 kids.
They're those practical things, aren't they, that in the heat of the emotional turmoil, it's kind of like the frontal lobe just kind of shuts off. You're just kind of in survival rather than thinking through. I mean, could you imagine, oh, well, geez, let's think about paint colors on walls and how many beds we need. Whilst you're like, dishes are flying across the kitchen. It's like, it's just,
exactly.
so you're providing a little bit of that stability and a path so that you can kind of dip into that space and get grounded.
Yeah.
Get some, what do I need to be thinking about in the decision? So you kind of almost take carrying some of the load of the hard,
Take the overwhelm out of it in a sense. So ask the questions of what are your plans? Do you want to have the kids? How often do you want to have the kids? Where are you going to live? How are they going to be able to stay at your place? Or have you sorted out your finances so that you say you want to buy a house, but do you have a mortgage pre-approval for finance? And things like that, and don't buy anything, for example, and this is more advice in a sense. In most cases, that applies to most cases. Don't buy something before you have done your financial settlement, because you don't know what the market is going through, and it might mean that you have to pay $100 or hundreds of thousands of dollars to your ex because your house is worth more than it was when you bought it. Even though you don't have the money because all the money is in the house. So it could end up that you actually have to sell a house that you've bought because you don't have the money to actually pay through rent. And then practical things, and that is not that are practical things that are helpful, but I think most of the challenges are around the emotional state of the men that I work with, and the decisions they are making. And also around communication with their ex, with their kids, because I think it's really important that they keep a good connection with their kids, and how they do that in a respectful way as well towards their ex, because often you hear stories where one of the parents is bad-mouthing the other, and the kids are in the middle, and kids are not dumb. They are really smart. They get it, and they know that if one is bad-mouthing the other and the other is not doing anything, then it is not looking good for the one that is bad-mouthing. Because they know that they can't trust that parent, and because if they do that to their father or their mother, then they might as well do it to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things I think that is really important in working with you, Peter, and I know you a little bit from our Genesis coaching experiences together. And one of the things that I really loved about being coached by you was just that you bring a real empathy, like real empathy, but that, and now I'm thinking it's the Dutchness in you, that there's still that you'll call a spade, you'll be direct, you'll ask the question. So I guess in a time when things could be so emotional and so, you know, high octane around that emotional stuff, I think what you bring is such a stable, no bullshit approach, which
Yeah.
I think, given the going on all over the place, is so critical. It's
Yeah.
so valuable.
Yeah.
You know, it in this kind of an environment, particularly.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to say, okay, now stop right now. Stop worrying about what everybody else thinks. Think about what you want and what you need to do for that. Or there could be times where I've spoken to men who are feeling that they are the victim. And they play their part in being the victim. They could step out of it. And sometimes it's just by setting boundaries and saying, you know, I'm not taking this anymore. And you will be surprised how often when you set boundaries, the other party understands. And often, you know, with boundaries, often now with kids, for example, if you don't set boundaries, they will chip away and just take more and more and more until the boundary is either set or is found by them. In a relationship or a relationship with an ex-partner, I think it's the same thing. And I've been victim of that myself, made myself a victim of that myself, and worked out that if you don't set boundaries, then then things are taken from you slowly and not in a malice way, but I think it's human nature to take as much as you can.
Yeah, it's, I mean, it is, that's calling this fate a spade again, right? Like, it's, at the end of the day, it's so remarkable, because at some point, you know, it was the honeymoon and everybody was happy, and, you know, you had the little twinkles in the eyes and the little emoji hearts going in the background. And now you find yourself in this, you know, you're on opposite sides of the fence. And with the separated dads, you will always have those children that are in common. So, you know, it is so important. And I thankfully have a great relationship with the girl's father, because that's for life. You know, like, we separated, the kids were 2 and 4, and they're now 22 and 24. And we've pretty much had a good 20-year run. Like, I mean, there's,
Right.
you know, I will be at events and stuff, and I'll say, he's the best ex-husband you could ask for, you know, like, and it's like, I kind of feel like the thing that you're doing with men allows that to happen. And it's so enriching because then, you know, the kids end up with two sort of two options that are good options, as
Yeah.
opposed to this constant struggle with which you sort of started out with.
Yeah. And I've got now an example of that as well. And one of my clients, that he found it hard to talk to his ex-wife, and so we talked through that and said, okay, now, so when do you talk to her? And I said, no, generally when I'm on my way back from the office, just after work. And I've asked her if I can have the kids more. No, and every time she says no. I said, is there a time where you can have a better discussion with her, that she's more open to have a discussion? And so, oh yeah, generally in the weekend. So would there be an option to discuss that during the weekend? And he said, oh yeah, no, that's maybe not a bad idea. So he asked during the weekend. He said, oh yeah, of course, yeah, no, that's fine. You can have them Wednesday night as well if you want to. And now every time he needs to have a difficult conversation, he just does that during the weekend, because during the week she's stressed, she's been working, she needs to pick
Yeah.
up the kids, and doesn't have time for a discussion with him.
Yeah.
In the
So
weekend.
good.
And it's just shifting uh, the timing of that discussion. But what you can do as well is look at it. If you didn't do that, then every discussion will be a difficult discussion.
Of course. Of course. What's coming clear to me right now is, as you're describing this, because you've got some advice around the hero's journey, the program, you've got the coaching, and it sounds like you're kind of offering a few different things, really. You're offering and I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I just want to make sure that I've understood correctly. So you've got this pathway that it's just like step 1, step 2, step 3. Like, this is the stuff that has to be done. This is probably the right order. So it's kind of an advisory, but it's also an education component to it.
Yep.
Then you've got some resources that people can use and access. And then you've also got this deeper dive where you put the coaching hat firmly on, which is, you've got the answers yourself, coaching person, coachee, and you're supporting them to sort of grow and change. And, so you could do all of them if you were a man,
Yeah.
or you could pick the thing that's going to most resonate with you, or even try a little bit before, is there a way to get a deeper dive into some of the stuff without spending the money yet? Have you got?
I run. I'm running monthly workshops as well, and they are online workshops. And they are free of charge, and they are around a particular topic. So next month I'm running an workshop around communicating with confidence and assertiveness. So it's basically, trying to work out how you can communicate. Be confident when you're communicating it, and putting your needs clearly at the front line, but at the same time being compassionate to the other person. So not being rude, but being assertive. So if you need something, then ask for it, instead of letting your emotions running the show, in a sense. And from a Thrive coaching perspective, we always look at why you behave a certain way. So how you're being and how that affects the way you behave, and what actions and decisions you make. And that's often, if you can look at it and say, okay, now why am I not asking this question right now? Is that because I've got some anxiety around it, because I've got some fear, because I can't be vulnerable, whatever it might be. And it can also be that you don't care enough. That can be the case as well. So, and those things are, I think, really important to know if you want to dive a little bit deeper. Or you can, look at the behaviors that you've got and change the behaviors, but it's generally short-lived then. And with the program, we will get into that at a very high level. But most of it is more guidance and probably more general education. So I've spoken with a lot of lawyers, and they always, when they say, "Oh, this is not advice, this is general education." So I'm
Of
not gonna,
course.
yeah. So, and I will say that as well. So everything is general education, and you pick out the things that you want, because in the end, every situation is different. But there are also a lot of things that everybody has in common. And if you want to get divorced, you need to go and get that paper signed by a judge, because otherwise it's not going, or by the court. Otherwise, it's not going to be a legal divorce. So that are the simple things. You probably want a parenting plan, things like that. And that is the general education that I give some templates around it as well.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds really, really good. Do you have any success, like a success story that you could share with us? Anyone that you've sort of worked with, or a challenging, or something interesting or funny or something as we kind of come to the end? Is there anything
Yeah,
you want to?
I've got the first, no, not the first, the second client I worked with in coaching around separation. I didn't actually coach because he got separated. He got separated during our coaching agreement, and he was struggling with it. He was a leader in an organization, and after working with him for probably 12 months, I asked him, so what impact has this had on your separation, but also from a professional perspective? And he said, professionally, it has made a massive difference because if I would have been stuck in my separation all the time, all my energy would have gone in there, and I wouldn't have been able to function properly in my job as a leader. And people, and he actually said, people have seen a change in me, a very positive change in me, and from a separation perspective, he can actually communicate a lot better with his ex. And I'm not saying everything is going smoothly, but it is going probably 20 times more smoothly than it would have gone if he wouldn't have been coached.
Yeah, nice.
So
That's so good.
yeah. And another one that and I didn't coach this person, but I spoke to him, and he said they were in emotional turmoil, in each other's hairs, and he said, I'm sick of this. I've spent $120,000 on lawyers and $100,000 on associated costs, and that is only my part of the story.
Jeez, ouch.
And he didn't even have, he wasn't running a company. He didn't have many assets. And they are basically eating up their family home, the value of the family home. And if they would have said, okay, now, what is fair? And sometimes you just have to say, okay, now, I might not get everything I want, but instead of spending $100,000 on lawyers,
Yeah.
I give 30% up, $30,000 up from what I think I'm owed.
Yeah.
So, and then it's up to the individual to decide what's the best case scenario. But sometimes emotions get in the way and say, I don't want to get anything.
Oh my God, it's so true. It's so true. So Peter, it's been amazing, like just putting toe in the water around this stuff, right? Is there any sort of advice that you have for people as we sort of wrap up our time together? Like,
yeah, so yeah, no, first thing that if you get separated, just make sure you've got the basics in place first. You look at get as much information as you can. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, in a sense. Make sure that you've got a place to live, that you've got your own bank account, in a sense, your finances are organized. There are simple things like getting your will updated, for example. If you've got your super beneficiaries, things like that. They're all simple stuff. I've got a checklist for that that you can download on the website. Then make sure you look after your emotional and physical well-being, because that's if you don't look at your emotional well-being, then things can go bad very quickly. But similarly, if you are going to lay on the couch drinking beers, eating pizzas every night, it's probably not going to help your mental state either. And then be curious and be open to what the other person in your former relationship has to say, and don't try to make assumptions, in a sense. And sometimes when things are said, don't take them personally. And I've got a couple of books that I have read over the last couple of years that really have made a profound change in how I approach things. And one of them is The Four Agreements from Don Miguel Ruiz. It's the Four Agreements, and the first one. So there are four agreements. One is don't take things personally, be impeccable with your word, don't make any assumptions, and always do your best.
Yeah,
I think
love that.
if you just take those things into account every time you do something or make an important decision, it's a really easy way to gauge if you're doing the right thing at that time.
Love that. It's so simple and it's so true. And it's just really simple stuff, and just, you know, be a good human, really. I mean, it's tough. It's tough on every single person that goes through separation. Nobody's like, you know, I mean, we all, there's a pain, you know, with no anesthetic.
No, exactly. And
you know, so it's crazy. Well, I'm so thrilled that you're stepping into this space, because it's so important, and families, exes, you know, individuals are all going to benefit from that. And that's just, I really honor the work that you're doing, because it's so important. And I just can't wait to see the hundreds and thousands of people that you'll continue to touch, because I just think it's just amazing. But anyways, so thank you for doing what you're doing, and thank you for sharing a bit of your story. If you want to talk to Peter, if you want to find his courses, if you want to register for a free workshop, you can go to the separationcoach.com.au. You can stalk him on LinkedIn. I've done that. Peter Dijkema, and it's Peter_Dijkema on LinkedIn. And anything from you, Peter, for our viewers before we sort of end our session together?
Yeah, no, I'm running a hero's journey at the end of the month. So starting a 12-week program. If people are listening and are interested in it and sign up before the 31st of July, then they can get a 50% discount, and not a $50 discount, but a 50% discount.
50%? Are you crazy? We didn't talk about this.
And
it's crazy.
And for a Dutchman, it's really hard to give away a lot of money. But
oh my God, that's so good. That would be amazing. That would be really, I'm trying to think of, a couple of people I'm going to have to send your way. You know, fortunately, unfortunately, fortunately.
And if they sign up and they use the promo code authentic50, then it will be applied automatically.
Fantastic. So if they go to the website, theseparationcoach.com.au, they can enter the code. It'll happen automatically. That's the Hero's Journey program that they'll be signing up for potentially, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. So I knew this was going to be great. You know, smoother separation, co-parenting, stronger connections with the kids. I mean, what's there not to love? Peter, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and it was a delight to talk to you again. And I always love to have these discussions with you and talk about separated fathers as well, because it's really close to my heart. And if I can help make a difference for those fathers, but especially for their kids, then that's what I'm doing it for.
That's so amazing. I'm so glad that you are. Thank you again. And thank you for joining us on the Authentic Living and Loving channel. If you have a story to share that will inspire others, we'd love to hear from you. Until we meet again, I'm Dr. Jordan Alexander, encouraging you to join the UBU revolution. And let's all live a life we don't need a vacation from. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the Authentic Living channel. If you liked the show, please subscribe, like, and share. Sponsored by learningforlivingacademy.com.